There were originally 80 books in the Bible, and it got changed to 66 books in 1881. And so this question asks, how do they know that the apocryphal writings, the ones that were removed, were actually the ones that weren't from God, and the ones that they kept actually were from God? And the answer really simply boils down to this: the narrative. They were really just more concerned about what the actual narrative of those texts were, not whether or not they were from God, because they knew they weren't from God. They were just written by a bunch of other cult leaders like themselves. Now, after I spent several years meticulously poring over all the apocryphal writings, the books that were removed, as well as a bunch of other books that were never even included but were also considered, especially books like 1st and 2nd Maccabees, which were removed, books like Jubilees, books like Jasher, the Book of Enoch, and many, many others, you start to see that there's a really heavy theme of Torah obedience all through those other texts. Take the books of 1st and 2nd Maccabees, for example. It talks about the Maccabean revolt and how literally dedicated with their entire lives the Jewish people were to keeping the Torah no matter what. In those books, it demonstrates how the Roman government was trying to get them to worship Dionysus, which, by the way, ties into another video I made about Jesus and Dionysus. I have a documentary about that. Try not to get off topic here. But in the 1st and 2nd Maccabees books, which took place just literally a couple hundred years right before Jesus would have showed up, you see that the entire city of Jerusalem and the Jews and all these people were being forced to eat pork over pain of death, and they were choosing death over eating pork. They were so concerned about correctly and honestly and meticulously keeping the Torah that it was causing them to lose their lives because of Roman persecution. So it kind of messes up the whole narrative of Jesus then showing up just 200 or 300 years later and being like, oh, you guys don't take the Torah very seriously. Y'all's father is Satan, the devil. Saying all this to the Jews, of course, who just got done proving that none of that's true. It's hard to spell it all out in just one video, one TikTok really, but Darby dispensational theology, or the age of grace and all these Christian terms that just came out in the late 1800s, coincided with the revisions that actually occurred. Look at the Westcott-Hort revision of 1881 and how that tied into the future of Christianity. It's pretty amazing. It was never about which texts were actually from God and which texts weren't. It was always about what narrative the mainstream Christian church is trying to push upon its people and which of the books don't really jive with that narrative and gotta go. Again, researching the Westcott-Hort revision and many other revisions like it, you'll see they removed tons of scripture, even from the books we currently have. A lot of lines are missing, and they even inserted lines that are not backed up by Greek texts.